Today on Raiders Nation Unfiltered, buckle up because we've got a wave of buzz straight out of Las Vegas. Forget everything else. This is about your team, your passion, your Raiders. Chris Olave to the Raiders? It's a hot rumor lighting up social media. Fans everywhere are speculating. Could the star wide receiver from New Orleans really wear silver and black? Now, let's be clear. This isn't coming from inside the Raiders front office. No verified source has confirmed it. But sometimes, the loudest rumors start from the outside. And Olave's name is echoing across Raider Nation for one reason. Back in 2022, during draft season, Chris Olave said he'd love to play for the Raiders. Why? His older brother's a die-hard fan. That connection doesn't fade. And now, the internet's on fire with talk. But here's the real question. Do the Raiders even need another wideout? With the additions of Jakobi Meyers, DJ Turner, and rookie talent like Justin Hall, the WR room is already loaded with potential. And still, names like Amari Cooper and Keenan Allen keep getting thrown into the mix because people on the outside don't understand the inside. This team has been quietly building its offense. The media might not see it yet, but we do. Before we get into the latest breaking news on how Kirk Cousins' situation could shake things up for Vegas, do us a quick favor. Subscribe to the channel, like this video, and don't forget to hit that bell icon so you never miss out on the real Raiders talk. Let's dive in. Chris Olave is no ordinary name, and when you look at his numbers from his first 2 years in the league, there's no doubt. This guy has the kind of upside that makes teams stop and think. Talented, fast, young, everything you'd want in a WR1. But here's the truth. The Raiders don't need to stop and think. Outside voices might be shouting for trades, but inside Raiders HQ, it's a different story. The Raiders have a young receiver room full of underrated talent. Guys like Jakobi Meyers, Trey Tucker, and the explosive Dante Thornton Jr. have been turning heads at OTAs. And Kyle Phillips, one of Chip Kelly's first recruits, now ready to prove himself in Vegas. Tommy Mellott is showing serious potential in the slot, and the coaching staff has real belief in their depth. So, let's cut through the noise. Chris Olave is a solid player, no doubt about it, but giving up a day 2 draft pick, a second or third rounder for another wide receiver just doesn't fit the Raiders' plan right now. Let's not forget, this team already used a third-round pick to land their quarterback. Another early pick for a position where they're already stacked doesn't add up. And it's not just about the draft capital. There's money involved too. Even though Olave's contract would only cost the Raiders $3.3 million against the cap this year, New Orleans has already picked up his 5th-year option, meaning any long-term deal would come at a higher price. Is that worth it, especially when the current WR group is hungry and already outperforming expectations? Let's be real. The Raiders aren't desperate. They're strategic. They've built a WR room from the ground up, and they believe in the guys they've got. Unless this summer brings a complete meltdown, and there's no sign of that happening, don't expect any big wide receiver trades in Vegas. This isn't about hype. It's about smart football. And the Raiders, they're staying locked in. Let's talk about the real cost of bringing in a wide receiver like Chris Olave. Not just the money, but the long-term implications. On paper, $15.5 million over 2 years doesn't sound outrageous for a talented pass catcher. But if you're the Raiders, you have to ask, is it worth it? If you're giving up valuable draft capital and preparing to take on that salary, you're not just renting a player, you're investing long-term. And that's where the logic starts to fall apart. Here's why. The Raiders already have someone in Jakobi Meyers who's quietly been one of the most dependable receivers on the roster. Instead of using future assets to chase another name, why not lock in Meyers long-term and build around the chemistry you already have? Reward the guy who's produced, not disrupt the locker room by chasing someone new. But the biggest red flag around Olave? Health. Olave has a documented history of concussions, 5 known incidents since 2020, including his time at Ohio State. That's a serious concern for any team, especially one like the Raiders that's building an identity around toughness and durability. This isn't a finesse offense. It's about grit, resilience, and playing physical. Ask yourself, how can a team that's focused on becoming a hard-nosed, relentless force afford to gamble on a player who might not stay on the field? We've seen how quickly careers can shift. Look at what happened with Hunter Renfrow. After a strong start, repeated injuries, especially concussions, derailed his momentum. He's now looking to revive his career in Carolina. That's not a knock on his talent, just a reminder of how fragile things can be. And that's the danger with Olave. In a world where injuries don't exist, sure, he might thrive in silver and black. But this isn't Madden. This is real football, and the Raiders are building something real, with players they trust to take hits and keep going. Bottom line, the Raiders need warriors, not question marks. And when it comes to Chris Olave, there are just too many question marks. All right, I know this is the Raiders Report, and we've been diving deep into Chris Olave and what he means for the silver and black. But hey, it's the offseason, and that means we keep an eye on everything happening around the NFL. Because what happens elsewhere? It still matters here. Now, let's talk Kirk Cousins. On May 27th, a little headline slipped through the cracks. Falcons head coach Raheem Morris told reporters he hadn't seen Cousins show up for OTAs. A few moments later, Tom Pelissero confirmed it. The Falcons were on the practice field, but Cousins was nowhere in sight. So, what's going on? Apparently, Cousins is already thinking about his next move. Word is, he doesn't want to stay in Atlanta beyond 2024. But here's the deal. This isn't about Cousins coming to Vegas. Let's make that clear. I don't want Cousins. I think Geno Smith is a much better fit for this team. More mobile, better arm, better leader. The reason I'm bringing this up is because it does impact the Raiders, just not directly. Think about it. Cousins plays in the NFC. The Raiders won't face the Falcons this year. Atlanta doesn't play anyone in the AFC West either. So, for now, no threat. But if Cousins ends up on another team in 2025, especially one in the AFC, that could change things. Whether you love him or not, Cousins is still a top 32 quarterback. He can help a quarterback-needy team instantly. That means more competition down the road, maybe even in the playoff race. So, while this news might seem minor, it's the kind of headline that quietly shifts the landscape. So, here's the situation. Kirk Cousins wants out of Atlanta. That's clear. And if he really does leave, the Raiders could feel the ripple effect. Not because we'd trade for him, but because of who might. Let's break it down. Yes, Cousins has a no-trade clause. But let's be real. If a team shows even the slightest interest, Atlanta would probably jump at the chance. They want to move on. They want out of that contract. Now, let's talk possible landing spots. First, there's New Orleans. Sure, division trades almost never happen. But maybe Atlanta is bold enough to send Cousins there, just to dump the deal and move forward. After all, Cousins is a better option than Tyler Show or Derek Carr at this point. Next, Minnesota. They've got J.J. McCarthy. There's buzz around the rookie, but let's ask the obvious. If they really believed in McCarthy, why'd they hang on to Sam Darnold? A guy who once threw 35 touchdowns in a season, makes you wonder. But here's my top 3 most likely trade destinations for Cousins. Cleveland Browns, Pittsburgh Steelers, Indianapolis Colts. What do these teams have in common? Quarterback issues. Cleveland's QB room is a mess. Kenny Pickett, Joe Flacco, Shedeur Sanders, and Dylan Gabriel. Not one of them is better than Cousins. And with Deshaun Watson still injured, the Browns need help. Fast. Pittsburgh's been linked to Aaron Rodgers, but if that deal falls through, don't be surprised if Mike Tomlin makes a call. Cousins would bring experience and stability. As for Indy, they've got Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones. Neither of them is a sure thing. Cousins could be an upgrade and a safer bet. But here's the key. If this trade goes down, it's likely after June 1st. Why? Because of the money. Atlanta saves $27.5 million in cap space and eats only $12.5 million in dead money if they trade him after that date. Whoever gets Cousins would pay him $27.5 million in 2025, and they'd be committing to him as a starter. You don't pay that kind of money for a backup. And even though his contract runs into 2026 and 2027, those years are easy to escape. So, yeah, $57.5 million in total cap hits sounds steep. But compare that to the amazing deal the Raiders got with Geno Smith, and suddenly, things look even better for Vegas. Bottom line, if Cousins moves, it won't be to the Raiders, but it will impact the AFC, and that means we have to watch it closely. Now, I want you to look into your crystal balls. Will Kirk Cousins stay in Atlanta and sit behind Michael Penix Jr., or does he get traded to another team? Part of me thinks he stays with the Falcons. It's hard to see a team making a big move for him right now. But if a trade does happen, it's likely to be an AFC team. And that could change the landscape completely. That's the concern. Right now, the Browns, Steelers, and Colts don't look like playoff teams. The Steelers have a strong defense, but if Mason Rudolph is starting at quarterback, they'll struggle. Even with Mike Tomlin's consistent record, they need more at quarterback. The Colts have talent, but the quarterback situation is shaky. And the Browns are dealing with injuries and uncertainty. But if any of those teams add Kirk Cousins, they immediately become more dangerous. The Browns with Cousins would be a much tougher opponent. The Colts with Cousins could be a completely different team. Both teams are on the Raiders' schedule. Colts in Week 5, Browns in Week 12. Right now, those look like winnable games. But if Cousins ends up on one of those rosters, they become much tougher matchups. Week 12 is especially important because from Week 13 to 18, the Raiders face a tough stretch. Every win before then could be critical. So even if Cousins doesn't join the Raiders, where he ends up could still impact the season.